I think
Isn't
it's,
that respect? Well, the whole thing is respect, I guess, and how you show respect.
yeah, I
Okay,
think it's
Marlo.
respect. And then the S is for the physical contact, the S word.
S word. How many times do they think about it compared to women? Oh, 33% more. That's 33 times more. That's
Anyway,
what I heard.
exactly. So also, so that section was interesting because that was actually about understanding each other's, desires and needs and timing. And then that's also something for conversation. So showing respect as opposed to, no, I have a headache, right? Or what, like not, so just understanding the whole of the other. I feel like this book is more of a blessing to men, but it's also a blessing to your family and to your marriage long term. So when you do understand who you're living with every single day, wouldn't it be better to have a smoother interaction and to grow together and to be more connected spiritually, emotionally, physically? And so these are such great tips that I think everybody should listen to because it's such a good book, Love and Respect. Like you and I have read it and like we still have to like refer to it because there's so much meat. There's so much like I feel like we should talk about it more here and there because it's such good.
Good
So it's something
reminders.
happy. It's going to
Hmm.
make your family happy.
Oh, it will. Yeah. I always thought I realized early on in my marriage that God holds me responsible for how I respond to my husband and to my children
Mm-hmm.
and how I relate to him. And he holds my husband responsible for how he relates to me and the decisions he makes. And and I have a good husband because he'll listen to me and ask for my advice and my and insight and input. He's not like, this is it, boom, we're doing it. We always work together on it. But at the same time, I realize I had to trust God that he was going to work through my husband. I didn't need to go above him.
Yeah.
I needed to just trust that God would work and help him. And if he didn't listen to some of the input that I gave, if we don't agree, then I'll just go, okay, whatever you say. Well, then he's going to have to answer to God for it. And God's going to have to deal and work with it. And he's going to always take care of me. God always has. Sometimes we've made some crummy decisions in our life. We
Yeah.
look back, but I learned through them. My husband learned through them. We grew together, but we grew spiritually. And we'd go back and sometimes we've been married 52 years. And so,
Whoa.
yeah, 52 years this year, 51 years. Yeah,
That's
51
so
and a half.
cool.
And I would say, yeah, we were just babes. Yeah.
Mm.
But now I lost my train of thought. That's
Well,
what
I
happens
mean,
when you're my age. You lose your train of thought.
you're saying he's amazing
But I
and you
would
guys have
say,
been married for a while and
yes,
he
okay.
listens.
So we learned a lot and grew a lot. And oh, yeah, we were talking about things that we would change. We said, those were really dumb decisions. We shouldn't have done it that way. But we didn't really listen to God at that time in our life. We thought but
Hmm.
we really didn't. We just went it bulldozed ahead. And anyway, but God took care of us. So that's
Yeah, and I think
he
what
knows we're but
I
flesh and dust,
what I
and
really
our
like
hearts
about
are
what you
not wanting to be bad. So go ahead, Marla.
like what I really like what you said about waiting for like waiting on God for things to change or waiting for your husband to move on something like you said. And in this book it says one of us has to start first. Like for instance, if you're feeling unloved and he's feeling disrespected and you're constantly clashing, someone has to have the maturity to start first and not expect anything in return. But imagine, he said, an analogy is imagine if you're constantly scornful of your husband, like, there you go again. You always do this, always, and I don't get it. And like, all I need you to do is, why can't you figure this out? As opposed to remembering all the different elements of how you could really appreciate him and authentically, sincerely saying something like, "I, really thank you for your work. I know it was like a hard day today and things." And just to pour into his love tank, basically, to get him to realize he's actually kind of loved, and then he'll start noticing how to reciprocate, because right now they're on the defense. And so he's just said someone has to start. He didn't say always the woman, but he just said someone has to have the maturity to invest and pour into, for we don't know how long, but eventually it'll be a fertile ground for them to reciprocate. Or you can talk about, like, hey, that sounded kind of unloving. And then he could say, if he read this book, actually, what you said was like kind of, it felt a little disrespectful. And so when they say it that way, they're like, oh,
Oh. So
okay.
the woman says that wasn't unloving, and the man says what you said was disrespectful. And
Yeah,
then you realize where you cross the line, each person, in
right.
each situation. It
It's
could be the woman
phenomenal.
doing it. It could be the male, the husband
Yeah.
being unloving. That could be the woman in a situation being disrespectful. So, yeah,
Isn't
that's a
that interesting?
good point. Instead of fighting back, just say, "This is how I feel about it." You weren't being loving toward me
Right, right,
when you talk
right.
to him. So,
Um,
well, the best, this is a quote I found. The best relationship is the union of two very different people who are good appreciators. So, when you
okay,
said
good
you have to
appreciate.
think about the good things about him, two different people who are good appreciators. We find things that we appreciate in the other person. And I'm going to tell you a little secret. I don't, when you go through menopause, well, it seems like every single thing your husband does annoys you. Oh my goodness, annoys you. Just like, what in the world? Why do you do that? Blah, 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 blah. And it's just, I mean, that's how, at least how I was. And he was just being his normal self. But
Mm.
all of a sudden it was just annoying. And so I got a little book out and I started writing everything I was grateful for. So each
Oh,
day
that's
I'd think about
amazing.
something I was happy about, grateful for in him, to change my thinking and change my mindset on it and not have so much negativity and so much annoyance. And it did change, when you start thinking
Yeah.
of things that you appreciate it instead of the things that you don't appreciate about somebody.
And
That's
that's
that's a
why
good way to start.
that's the something happy to focus on, the joy and the choosing a higher level, the bigger picture. We all deserve to enjoy our life, right? And so when we focus on the joy and the enjoyment, it's like it will manifest through our words, our actions. Imagine if you start your day in fear, you're going to make decisions based on fear. You
Mhm.
start your day with a critical spirit, you're going to make decisions with results of a critical spirit. For you, you did like joy. It's going to reap a harvest of blessing. And God will honor that, especially within the faith, like if you think about it that way. So I love that so much. And so anyway, that's just it's just like that's exactly what he was talking about in that book.
Well, I have another quote. You want to hear this one?
Yes.
Happiness is a byproduct of an effort to make someone else happy. Happiness is a byproduct of an effort to
Oh,
make
I love
someone
that.
else happy. And that's by Greta Palmer and her book Permanent Marriage, which I have never read, but I just saw this quote. And I thought that's so true, because if the husband's trying to make the wife happy by loving her, and
Hmm.
the wife's trying to make the husband happy by respecting him,
Uh-huh.
then you're, like you said, you're going to be happy, right? Have a happier marriage. And this is for people that aren't in abusive relationships. We're talking to just people who are
Like in
going through
general.
the general the ups and downs of normal getting along with somebody else and living with somebody else. Because marriage is a school where we learn to be flexible, to live in harmony with each other, to walk together as one, to strengthen and complement each other. And it's not complement, like where you say, oh, you're so good at this, you're so good at that, but complement, where you're two sides, two different people, each with different strengths working together, your strength and my strength working together. Because if we both had the same strengths, then we wouldn't need each other. So we're walking together as one to strengthen and complement each other. That's Norman Wright. He wrote that in The Seasons of a Marriage, and he's
Wow.
yeah, he was counselor in marriage many years ago. So,
That
well,
reminds me of the principle in the book Man's Search for Meaning.
mhm.
It's a dark, deep book, but his one principle was what you just said. In the midst of absolutely having nothing, he had the will to live because he aimed to serve others.
Mm, that's
And
a good thought. So let's close on that. Our time's up. And we
oh
talked about the book you read. So I wonder what we're going to talk about next time.
no, the next book I read.
The
The next book
next,
you read.
or something else. Maybe we'll talk about recipes or something. Go back to books another time. But friends, thanks for listening in on our little chit chat, Marlo and Ruthie, and talking about something happy. And join
Together.
us next time together. Bye bye.
Bye bye.